been a bad week for Israel and its supporters as the facade has unraveled. For the defenders of Israel's war on Gaza, the game is up. News broke on the morning of April 1st about the withdrawal of Israeli forces besieging Al-Shifa hospital, leaving the hospital in ruins and a large pile of bodies behind. The Israeli army congratulated themselves on a textbook operation. The horror of the textbook operation is being slowly revealed. Survivors have revealed patients, doctors, and even the dead, whose corpses were dug up by bulldozers, were all the same to the besiegers, who left a wasteland behind them. The Al-Shifa massacre was just the beginning. The triple drone strike, which killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers, has created uproar around the world. More aid workers have been killed in the war in Gaza and any other conflict as Israel struck 3 aid convoys this week. Despite the EDF having the coordinates and route provided to them, the World Central Kitchen vehicle was struck by a drone. Survivors who then went to another vehicle were struck for a second time, with a third vehicle also struck. Israel called the incident a mistake that followed a misidentification, despite the vehicles being clearly marked. Israel has been consistently assassinating aid workers. The only thing that was different this time was the nationality of the people in the cars, all from nations that support the continued war. The supporters of Israel in the West are now having to face the problem of either losing credibility and being on the wrong side of history, or stand with their people who want arms exports to stop and a ceasefire. President Erdogan's ruling party suffered a resounding defeat in Turkey's local polls, dealing him the most severe electoral setback since his rise to power 2 decades ago. Turkey's opposition scored decisive mayoral victories against Erdogan's Justice and Development Party in races across the country, including in economic powerhouses Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, Bursa, and Antalya. The AKP has not performed so poorly in local elections since Erdogan founded the party in 2000. Ekrem İmamoğlu's strong performance for the opposition, Republican People's Party in Istanbul, marked a blow to Erdogan, who threw his full weight behind the AKP candidate in a bid to vanquish his arch-rival, who may make a bid for the presidency in 2028. Overall, the CHP captured 38% of the national vote, while support for the AKP fell to 35%. The AKP had notched up 44% of the vote in the previous local elections in 2019. Nationwide local elections are a good gauge of national sentiment in Turkey. The AKP and Erdogan's rise in the late 1990s was due to their good performance at the local level. But with Turkey's economy in turmoil, with runaway inflation, after 2 decades of rule, it would seem Erdogan is running out of support, steam, and options. Germany needs to reintroduce conscription, Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has announced as he unveiled an ambitious military reform plan aimed at making the nation's armed forces fit for a potential conflict. "We have considered that compulsory military service will be reintroduced," Pistorius told journalists in Berlin, as he spoke about the new structure of the nation's armed forces. The draft was suspended under amendments to the Compulsory Military Service Act passed by lawmakers in 2011. Reintroducing it would now require parliamentary approval. However, the plans were met with skepticism by Chancellor Olaf Scholz and faced opposition from Finance Minister Christian Lindner. The German military has been suffering from major personnel and equipment shortages for years. In March, the Parliamentary Commissioner, Eva Hogel, revealed in her annual report that the number of military personnel shrank further last year and that the dropout rate was still very high, while the number of new applications was decreasing. With Russia's Ukraine invasion changing the posture of many European nations, the promised $100 billion that Germany promised 2 years ago has not materialized. With more and more talk of a European-wide war, it would seem Germany will struggle to defend itself in any conflict.